UFOvember, and so I'm joining in, trying to get a few projects done, but one in particular that I wanted to get done, and it was the perfect timing. So the November the 11th, Remembrance Day, and we have our quilt called Remember Them. So this is my sepia version. So it's made in biscuit colors with the brown edges. I'll show you a full shot later. But I need to quilt it. I need to get it finished so that I can share it on Thursday. So, which is the 11th this year. So I've got my backing pinned to the leader, the zippers that are going to go on the quilting machine. So I need to get this on the frame, get it quilted, and get it bound. So this is my project for UFOvember. I hope you enjoy the process. So for this project to go ahead, I needed to make sure I had backing that is going to suit this quilt. The dark brown I've chosen it's actually a piece of fabric that I had lying around, and it will go quite nicely because I have this chocolate brown on the edges of my quilt. So that will be quite nice. I do have more of this one. So while it's quilting on the frame, I'm going to cut the binding because I'm going to bind it in this same brown. So gathering your fabrics, making sure you've got everything you need, not just fabric, supplies. Have you got everything you need to finish your project? So this quilt has been made for most of this year. So this is part of the resume part of UFOvember. So I'm resuming this project with a view to getting it finished in time for a certain date. So looking over my quilt, I've just discovered, as you can see, the gorgeous poppy fabric. I discovered that black center of the poppy, this one here, thinking, why is that rustling like there's paper in there? This is a fusible applique project. The background is pieced and the poppies are fusible applique. So what I did was I discovered that there was indeed a piece of my design, the paper, left stuck inside. So what I've done is I have cut, because it wasn't sticking because the paper was still there, I have cut a slit in the background fabric and I've removed the paper. So that won't be in my quilt now. I'm not going to bother doing anything with this because this is underneath the black fabric and it's going to be quilted. So it's not going to go anywhere. So this is my project. So you see, there we go. With these corners, it's a bit like, imagine like the older photos with the photo corners. That was a bit of the effect I was going for. So in order to get this one finished, I am doing a pantograph across this applique quilt. It's a poppy theme, it's a poppy design, and I'm going to do it in this warm biscuit color to match most of the background. You will notice it on top of the red poppies and the corners. I'm okay with that, that's fine. I want it to sort of be in the background on most of the quilt. If I'd done it in red, I think that would be too much, and certainly brown would be as well. So the majority of the quilt is made up of those biscuit colors, so that's the color of quilting cotton that I'm going with. I've noticed that there are a couple of spots where, as you can see, I can put my finger under here. So before I put this on the frame, I'm going to give this a really good press with my iron and make sure all of the fusible applique is held down really well, including that center that I removed the paper from, and then I'm going to get it on the frame. Hey, good morning. Back with a completed quilting. Not a completed quilt top, but the quilting has been completed. So this is my now quilted Remember Them quilt. So you can see, remember I talked about using a biscuit thread. So it is actually on top of those red flowers, but from a distance it's harder to see. But if I bring it closer, you can see that we have the flower and the stitching on top of the applique. So it is there, and even on this dark brown in the corner, chocolatey brown in the corner, you can see there is the quilting. Yes, I chose a poppy design, so you will have seen that photo already, and it's come up really nice on that chocolate stripe fabric as well. And I'll show you the back, because the back is pretty cool. So the back is a solid brown piece of fabric, and you can see the stitching there. Come a little bit closer. Now that row, I actually had a little bit of an issue. My needle was going a little bit blunt, so I did change it. Now on someone else's quilt, I would unpick this so that those marks weren't there. What it's done is actually push through a little bit of the wadding. So on my quilt, I'm going to be okay with it. But so once I change the needle, there we go, you can see that it has quilted up beautifully. So that was just one pass that had a little bit of an issue, and I will have a go at poking some of those bits of wadding back through the hole. So my next step is to do the binding. So and then I'm almost done. Now remember, one thing I will encourage you to do is to put a label on your quilt, at least somewhere on the quilt, even if it's just written in a fabric marker on the back of the quilt, but not a laundry marker. So I've got my binding strips, and yeah, so it's the same fabric as this chocolate stripe, so I am going to frame it in that lovely chocolate brown and then put my label on, and the quilt will be complete. So fantastic finish, and it's in really good time, as I said, for Remembrance Day. So that's my next step. I will put a link to our tutorial for binding. It's on our website. It is what I do every time, and it works all the time. You can either choose to hand finish your binding, or as I do most of the time, I will machine finish my binding. So I'll put that link in the description, and I'm going to get on with binding. And we have finished quilt. So I'll step aside in a sec. So what I needed to do to finish this quilt, I assessed where I was at with the project. I worked out what I needed to finish, which wasn't a lot, for this one. So that's something I would recommend that you do if you have a project that you need that to pick up and start working on. Work out what you need to finish, whether you need to go and buy anything, whether you've got it in your stash, then just break it down into chunks. So I did a couple of things over a few days so that I could get them done. The quilting was done on one day, and then I needed to do the binding. I had yet to do my label still, but that will be coming soon. But I'm very pleased that this version of our Remember Them pattern is now complete. So I was really happy with the quilting pattern I chose, and it's all poppies. It's really quite interesting. So it's a bit breezy outside, but we've moved outside so I can hang it for you. But I'll show you some photos. But the quilting design has landed in the center of these flowers to show off the poppy design in the quilting pattern. So I was really quite pleased with that. can see, the back is just the plain. The thread shows up really well on that. I will show you some other photos of that as well. And it is now done and ready to use, except for the label. Anyway, I hope you're inspired over the month of November. Please check out the links to the other bloggers who are also finishing things or giving things away maybe if the project is just not something that you can get into anymore. Give it to someone else who would like to finish it. Otherwise, I encourage you, get those projects done and enjoy the finished product. Whether it's a quilt or something else, doesn't matter, as long as you get it done and you can then enjoy it. Happy UFOvember!